Hey, what happened to the housing market crash? Did it get canceled? Hey, we were told it was happening. It was happening in 2022, in fact. Everyone was looking at this. This was the big housing bubble, right? And everyone was waiting for this to happen. Well, it didn't, okay? Not yet. Now, doesn't mean it may not, but so far we haven't seen it. We've seen some ups and downs and some corrections. In fact, tonight I'm going over, Headline's going to cover a bunch of this stuff about what's going on here in 2024 with the housing market. Hey, I'm going to be covering that, but also I'm going to be covering all of this. All right, these questions I'll be answering tonight. What is the current active listings? How many sold in the last 7 days? How many homes are under contract? How many new homes sold in the last 7 days? What is the current active new home listings? How many active listings are in foreclosures? How did people pay for all these homes? What percentage of homes sold under list, at list, and above list? And much, much more. Hey, and on top of that, I'm going to be adding condos to it too, because the condo situation is important to a lot of people, because here in Florida, it's a big problem, okay? Hey, you know what? I'm just a regular guy who happens to be a real estate agent up here in North Florida's Jacksonville metro area. My name's Tom Kerr, and this show is Bubble Watch, and we're in season 3, and this is week 4 of the show, where I take you into the back end of my MLS account, and we go over the real numbers in real estate. So let's get to it right now. I'm going into the back end of my MLS account, and we're going to start off with those active listings. All right, here I am in the back end of my Northeast Florida MLS account, and we're going to start off with those active listings. Active listings are 8,964, and that is our inventory. Okay, next we're going to take a look and see what sold in the last 7 days. Okay, that number is 665. Next, we're going to take a look and see how many are active under contract. Currently active under contract, that number is 1,527. Okay, next we're going to take a look and see how many of these went pending in the last 7 days, okay? Now, the ones that are active under contract they're under contract, but they have contingencies, okay? It could be financing, could be inspections, whatever, appraisals. But after those contingencies clear, then they go into pending status, or they're supposed to, okay? It all depends on if the agent statuses it correctly, which most of the times they do. So we look and see how many went pending then in the last 7 days. That number is 397. Now, when you add up the total that went pending and the ones active under contract, that is your total under contract. Okay, next we're going to take a look and see how many people withdrew their listings in the last 7 days. That number is 83. Next we look at expired. Now, withdrawn, they're still active listings. It's just that they can't be shown. But expired means they did not sell and they are off the market. So how many expired in the last 7 days? That number is 258. And next we're going to look at new homes sold, okay? Well, before we do that, let me go back to the homes that sold. All right, here we had 665, okay? I go over here, and what I do now is I export this. Want to make sure I export this information. Almost forgot to do that. That's where I get all my data from. All right, we export it, and it goes into the Excel spreadsheet, where I'm going to take in and do all my charts and all my other data that I'm going to share with you tonight. Okay, now we'll go in here and look at new homes that sold in the last 7 days. That number is 178. Next, we're going to take a look and see what is the active inventory for new homes. That number is 2,099. Okay, the next thing I do is I take a look and see out of the active listings how many are statused as foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, and short sales. All right, so let's start off with the foreclosures. That number is 332. Next, we're going to look and see what is in the pre-foreclosure status. That number is 13. And how many are in short sale status? That number is 28. Okay, next we're going to take a look at, we're going to pull the condo information out of all this. Now everything we've had here included condos and everything. Now we're just going to take the condo information specifically out so that we can see that individually. Okay, the amount of condos that are active listings is 1,087. Okay, next we're going to take a look and see how many condos sold in the last 7 days. That number is 45. Okay, we're going to take a look and see how many are active under contract. That number is 145. Had to double check that. It sounded too even. All right, next we're going to look and see how many went pending in the last 7 days. That number is 18, and same as with the others, when you add up the pending and the active under contract, then you get the total under contract. Next, we're going to look and see how many people withdrew their listings in the last 7 days. That number is 11. Next, we're going to look at how many expired in the last 7 days. That number is 38, and those are ones that did not sell. And now we take a look and see how many new condos sold in the last 7 days. That number is 0. And how many are in new condos active inventory? And that number is 8. All right, we're going to do the same thing as far as the foreclosure situation goes with the condominiums, and we're going to take a look and see how many are in foreclosure status. These are of active condo listings. How many are in foreclosure status? Okay, that number is 43. And how many are in pre-foreclosure status? That number is 0. And how many are in short sale status? That number is 1. Hey, you know what? Now I take all that data and I export it into an Excel spreadsheet like I was showing. Now that Excel spreadsheet comes out as a lot of just garbled up data, okay? So what I do, and it looks like this. So what I do is I clean it up into my own Excel spreadsheet. It looks a little more like this. And I'm going to show you how we look at those weekly numbers and all the way back. And I've got numbers going all the way back for over 2 years ago, all right? So right now, while all that's cleaning up and doing all that, let's take a look and see what those scary interest rates did this last week. All right, here we are on the 30-year conventional rates. We'll start off with last week we ended up at 7.29, and look at that, all green arrows. We haven't seen that for a while. All right, so they've been gradually going down, some smaller than others, and then we have an unchanged here at the end, but we ended up with 7.03. So that is going in the right direction. All right, now let's take a look at those FHA rates because they are generally less. Here we were last week, we ended up at 6.82. Again, green arrows down, one that stayed the same during the middle of the week, where we ended up at 6.54, again in the right direction. And let's take a look at those VA rates. And here we are, VA, last week 6.84. Green arrows followed along with the FHA, pretty much the same, and with one, unchanged in the middle of the week. We ended up at 6.55, so definitely in the right direction. All right, now, I don't know if you hear it or not, but there are some background noises. There's like some hammer and construction stuff going on because I happen to be in a new construction home that's for sale. It's actually a model home that's for sale, and so it's over here in Nocatee, and so that's where I'm doing this on-site video for, okay? So you may hear some of that noise outside with construction going on in this neighborhood. Hey, something that I used to do all the time was in the past here, I was taking these weekly data on showing the price per square foot in Duval County, and the median price, and the inventory, and I was doing it weekly, but the source of that stopped supplying that data, so it went to a monthly on a place called Fred's, okay? So they do it monthly. So we had the April, now the May numbers came out, so let's take a look and see what Fred has to say for May. All right, so here we are in the back end of that Fred, and well, what does Fred stand for? Right here, what is Fred? Fred is short for the Federal Reserve Economic Data, okay? Now what we are looking at here, now this is for Jacksonville, so basically Duval County, so and it, you know, it splits it up by cities and all that, so we're keeping it just with Jacksonville, Duval, just to keep things consistent, okay? Even though the metro area does have a little bit of fluctuations, but this gives us an idea. So here we are looking at, now this one is a monthly report. Like I said, we do not have the weekly anymore. That source stopped providing that information. All right, so as we look here for the May report, it's $230, okay, is the median listing price per square foot, okay? Look back in April, it's $230, so there was no change. As we look here, we see where it dipped and started going back up and started going back up again. We had some little fluctuations. Right here, you see that peak there. Last year, last year, I'm still thinking 2023, a couple of years, 2 years ago, we were at a peak there, and this was right before everything, you know, came down, because I started Bubble Watch in May of 2022. That's when the rates started going up, and this is where we took that big hit, okay? This is when everyone said we were crashing, okay? The crash is here, the crash is here, and then, uh-oh, this happened, okay? So that shows you the big difference. Now, for everyone that wants to go back to 2019 prices, here we are. Look at the big difference. This is why there is such an affordability problem. Look at that in 2019, $148 a square foot compared to now, $230. There's our problem, okay? All this, I mean, this all jumped in a short period of time, and it's not coming down as like it went up, okay? There's corrections, but you know, this is why I'm not seeing the crash, okay? Doesn't mean it can't happen, and I'll report the numbers if they come out, but right now this is what we're looking at. Okay, now what we're looking at is the active listing count in Jacksonville, just Duval County, not the whole Northeast Florida MLS like I was doing before. So as we look at this chart right here, we see in May it's jumped up. Okay, we're at 75.41, but look at how fast it went up this year. I mean, it's still shooting up. Okay, right here was that, okay, back there in 2022, okay, in May, when I started the show again, right there, okay, look at the difference. And all of a sudden, that inventory really started shooting up, okay? Then, what did we have? All of a sudden it started going down again as people were buying. Now it's going back up again, and as we see, it's gradually shooting back up, okay? And if you want to compare, all right, let's look at 2019. Look at the levels back in 2019. We had some little blips right there, but here, 2019, we are just about at our 2019 levels. Actually, for some of them, you know, as it got closer to that COVID, that's when we had our first drop, okay, when the COVID thing hit. Okay, next we're going to take a look, and we look at the median listing price, okay, in the Jacksonville area. And really look at this chart. All right, first let's look at where we're at right now. In May, 422,558, okay? What was it in April? 420. So it has gone up. And it has gone up since the beginning of this year. We saw that drop, okay, right here, prices dropping, and again, look at that peak right there, okay, and that was right before the rates went. When as soon as those rates hit, man, did it go down. And again, this is when everyone said we were crashing, okay, and then what happened? Boop. So if you waited, okay, if you waited, okay, if you thought that things were too expensive here and you were buying here, okay, this is before those rates went up. You says, you know, price is just going up, there's no way, I'm holding off, I'm waiting, this is ridiculous, it's going to crash. All right, when it got to here, you thought it was crashing, okay, came down, price came up. But what happened when the price came down? The interest rates went up. Then what happened here? The interest rates still were up, but the prices went up. Okay, we went down some more as the rates fluctuated, and we're still right here, okay? Let's look back at 2019 and look at the difference, okay? Again, here's the affordability problem. Look at that. The average, $301,000, and now we're at 422, over 100,000 difference, okay, for the same houses, okay? That's the problem. All right, now let's go into those Excel spreadsheets, and these Excel spreadsheets that I show you are going to be mine where I take a lot more data comes out what I just showed you in the MLS, okay? And then I put it into these sheets. Now this covers, you know, just everything in general. Then what I do at the end, I have a separate group of sheets that I break down for the condos just by themselves. So we're going to cover both of that right now, because I used to have a condo show that just did all that, but now I've combined it with this show. So let's take a look now at those Excel spreadsheets. All right, here we are back in. We're going to start off with the main sheet, and for those of you that are new to this show, everything in the column yellow is our current weeks, and you can see here we're season 3, week 4. Okay, that's this yellow column here. The previous ones were the previous 2 weeks back, and right next to it in the white, now that was 1 year ago. So that's what I like about the way I do this, is that I keep the numbers all in there, and actually, if you look, I've been doing this all the way since right there, week 1, May of 2022, which I've been putting in these numbers. And so every week, I put them in there so that we can keep up with what we've got going on here. Now, YOY gives you the year-over-year percentage difference between a year ago and right now. Okay, so let's start off. Right now, we look at these active listings. This week, we're at 8,964, so that number is up. So again, the listings have been going up, so that is your inventory. Now, just because the inventory's up doesn't mean the quality of the homes for sale is up, okay? This is a problem. Okay, inventory's going up. I'm showing houses to people and we're still not finding anything. Okay, it's because there's just a lot of stuff that's just subpar out there for sale, and then stuff that people run into problems with getting insurance, or people need things fixed and the seller doesn't have the money to fix it, you know. So just because the inventory's up doesn't mean you got a good selection. All right, next we're looking at solds. Okay, 665, so that is definitely a jump. Okay, it's a jump from last year at this time. It's a jump from last week, from the week before, and the week before that. All right, active under contract, 1,527, so that is down. Okay, those that went pending, 397. Okay, that's up a little bit from last week, but down from the week before that, and about the same before that. Total under contract, when you add them both up, 1,924, so that actually is a little bit of a dip that we're seeing here, okay, in those total under contract. So we'll see how that plays out in the following weeks with the sold numbers. Okay, people that withdrew, 83. Okay, that, you know, fluctuates about the same between the 60s and 80s. Okay, expired, now this here is a jump. Okay, expired, 258. Look at the previous 3 weeks there. Okay, 122, 101, and 104. Man, this is, you know, over twice as much. So what's happening? Are these sellers holding to these prices that they think that these houses are worth that, and then they're not selling? Or, you know, are more people buying the new homes and, you know, and looking away from some of these used? So let's see, what are the new homes sold? 178. Well, that dropped. Okay, home sales surged. Okay, overall, but new home sales dropped. All right, new homes active, 2,099, that is their inventory, up some. Now this part here, the percentages homes sold that are new, okay, 26.77%. Now that is down from last week, but it's up from the previous weeks. And think about this. I mean, even though the home sales dropped this week, 1/4 of the homes out there for sale, over 1/4 actually, are new homes. Okay, that's telling you something. All right, let's take a quick peek at the condos. Here we go, active condos for sale, 1,097, so that is up. So we're seeing that their inventory is going up. Sold condos, 45. Okay, now this doesn't go along with the overall of everything, where everything, the sales surged basically. and this didn't surge, okay? Now the percentage of actives that are condos are still in that 12% range. All right, so how did everyone pay for these homes? All right, right there you see cash, almost a fourth paid cash. Almost, you know, the cash went down a little bit, but look at the conventional. I mean, the conventional went up, okay, over 44 and a half. FHA, about the same, 15.94. VA, 14.14. Now the others is what dropped. So that was interesting. It went below 1%. So I don't know what was going on there, but maybe people just got better deals here with the conventionals. That's where it took it away from. Those foreclosure numbers. All right, 332 for foreclosures, pre-foreclosures 13, short sales 28, total 373. So we're seeing it going back up. Okay, it's still below. All right, look at where we were. Where did we last see it like this? Okay, not until season 2, week 49, 357, jumped to 374 in week 50, but we had all those increases and we still haven't caught up to that, so it's still below. So we keep an eye on that. And this one should not be yellow. There we go, correct it. Okay, next we take a look and see here homes that sold under list, at list, and above list. So 72.48% sold under list. So that number is up, okay. Homes that sold at list is down to 13.83, and homes that sold above list is staying about the same at 13.68. Okay, now we look in the categories, okay, of the price ranges of these homes, okay? So now we're looking at homes that sold for $500,000 and above. Remember, $500,000 is $500,000, all right? So that number actually went up, okay, to almost a third of the homes, jumped. Wow. Homes that sold in the 400s, down slightly from last week, 13.38. Homes that sold in the 300s, at 25, 0.71%, staying about consistent there. Homes that sold in the 200s dropped a little bit to 18.65. Homes that sold below 200, 9.62. Okay, up a little bit. So that, again, consistently, the homes that are $500,000 and above and in the 300s, bring up that top sweet spot. All right, now I look over here on the side. Out of those homes in those categories, how many were new homes in those? All right, and we can see 54 of, we had a total of 178, so 54 of them were $500,000 and above. In the 400s, 28, 67 in the 300s, and 29 in the 200s, okay? All right, now let's take a look at those new homes. This is what we see. Homes that sold under list, 63.43. So they actually went down. Homes that sold at list, down a little bit. And homes that sold above list jumped. Okay, wow. Okay, so they're getting some more money for them for whatever reasons. Maybe, because more people are starting to look at it. Again, it depends on the neighborhoods and depends on the homes. All right, now what I do is I look at what is called MLS Advantage, all right? Everything I had, all this other data was from Northeast Florida MLS, which is the largest MLS board up here in Northeast Florida. But MLS Advantage takes in the Northeast Florida MLS plus some of these other smaller boards around the area, because a lot of us, we cross-sell into each other's. So to give you a better idea of the 9-county Jacksonville Metro, now some people say it's 7, but I say it's more like 9, okay? Of these 9 counties, I look at what's sold and the sold numbers to give you a really good idea of what's going on here in Northeast Florida. So we're going to take a look at MLS Advantage, and then what I do after that, I break it down by county and I show you the solds in each county, okay? Say like St. John's, Duval, Clay, Flagler, and so on. So let's do that right now. Okay, here we are in the MLS Advantage, and we're going to take a look now at those 9 counties. Baker, Union, Bradford, Clay, Duval, Flagler, St. John's, Putnam, and Nassau, okay? And what we're going to do is look and see how many, okay, sold in the last 7 days. So we hit that search button right here, and that number is 951. Okay, now we break it down by the counties. So here we look at, for your MLS Advantage, the counties broke it down to this week 4. Baker at 2, Union at 1, Bradford at 2, Clay County up at 86, Nassau down actually to 71, Duval County up to 312, St. John's 276, Flagler 174, they were up. Putnam had a pretty good increase. They over doubled the amount they did last week. There's our total, 951. So you can see that was a pretty good jump from the previous weeks. Okay, we haven't seen something like these numbers since week 51 of season 2. Okay, now I'm going to take a look at where I separate the condos. Now, unfortunately, MLS Advantage doesn't give me a condo separation. It gives condos and townhouses combined, so I don't like that. So this here is going to be from the Northeast Florida MLS, where I take the condo stats, and we're going to look at those spreadsheets for the condos right now. All right, here now we look at the sheets for the condominiums, and we start off, we're in week 14 of the condominiums. Now, I didn't start doing condominiums until, 14 weeks ago. All right, here we are. We've got active 1,087, so that's up, so the inventory is up. Sold 1 week, it's 45, up 2. Okay, active under contract 145, so that's down. Pending is down also to 18, for the total under contract being 163, which is down from last week. Okay, now when we look across the previous weeks, you see how these changes have been. Withdrawals, 11 people withdrew their listings and 38 expired. Now remember, these are ones that expired are the ones that did not sell. And so is it because people felt that the price was too high, or were the monthly fees too high? Okay, new condos sold 0, and new condos active are 8. Okay, how do people pay for these condos? Now, we normally see a higher amount paying cash for condos, and here we are, 55% paid cash, a little almost 38% conventional. FHA, VA, and other rounded it out, at 2.22%. Now, if we look over here on the side, we see how many of those units, those 45 units, did that. So 25 were cash, 17 were conventional, and 1 FHA, 1 VA, and 1 other. And remember that the reason we see a higher amount of cash is because some condos may be hard to finance, because the lenders will not finance if a certain percentage, it depends on where their threshold is, of the units in that, occupants in that complex are either late with their HOA or maintenance fees, or their mortgages themselves. So it's not, you're individually, you can have an 800 score, but if a certain percentage of the other tenants or owners in there are delinquent in any ways, then they will not lend anything in that building. Okay, here we look at the foreclosures, and we see we were up one there with the 43, 0 pre-foreclosures, 1 short sale, so the total 44. So not a lot of change in those, okay, but it is down from where it was a little higher in week 10 and week 11. All right, here we look at the condos that sold under list. In the 90s, all right, 93.33% sold under list. What a difference from the houses. Okay, condos that sold at list, 6.67, and none sold above list this week, okay? Over here on the side, you see 42 of them were under list and 3 of them were at list. All right, when we look at the price ranges, okay, condos that sold for $500,000 and above, okay, 20% of them did, which, that's a strong number. Condos that sold in the 400s, 6.67. Condos that sold in the 300s, 8.89 this week. Condos that sold in the 200s, 37.78. That's the biggest group. And the condos that sold below 200, man, the second biggest group at 26.67. So it could be that some of the prices may be going down, but we saw a couple weeks earlier there, we've seen these higher numbers, okay? On the right, you see how many actual units sold at those. 9 at 500 and above, 3 in the 400s, 4 in the 300s, 17 in the 200s, and 12 below 200. Okay, nothing new with the new, so we just skip this and go on. All right, this next one, we're looking at the total number of stories of the complex and how many sales for condos with those stories. And this is because of that law that says anything 3 stories and above or certain ages, 25 to 30 years, depending on where they're located, have to comply with this new law. And so we're just doing this like kind of for grins to see if there's a pattern, if more people would be gravitating towards the 1 and 2 story complexes versus the taller ones. I don't know. So far we haven't seen any, but I'm just giving you the numbers every week. So as you can see right here, in this column, week 14, we have 7 units that were 1 story complexes. Out of the 2 story complex, there was 18 sold. Out of the 3 story complexes, 14, and so on, till we end up getting to the total of 45. Okay, now because of the year that matters, like 25 to 30 years, I mean, we're looking at, condos that are around like 1999, and older, depending on where they were located. So this here shows, now each one of these is an individual unit. So say that first one there you see, 2019 is the year, 1 story. Okay, that's that 1 unit. Another unit that sold, that was a 1 story complex, was a 2006 building. Okay, next was a 2001. So these are the individual. There'll be 45 of these, but those are the years that correspond with the amount of stories. So what we do is we look, and then I'll just scroll, I'm not going to read them off, and see when we get into the 3 stories, okay, look at the years. You see those 83, 89, 83. Those older condos are definitely going to be have to qualify under this new law. And the same thing as you go for any of these others that are higher up, especially look at the one 17 stories, 1976. They definitely, and it, we'll see what their maintenance fees and HOA fees will be. But this is all of those. Okay, now I look at the counties just to see where these condos are being sold. 1 was sold in Clay County, 30 in Duval, 11 in St. John's, and 3 in Nassau, bringing the total to 45. Now the next thing I do here is a list of showing, because there's so many that are sold below list. All right, this here shows the original list price, then what it closed at, and that's the sold price, okay? And the difference. So that first one sold for $250,000 below the original list price. And I just did it for all of them, going in order, and I'll just scroll, and then you can pause the video if you'd like to look further at this list. Now remember in the beginning now that's all I've got of the condos list, but this here, remember this was the first Excel spreadsheet that showed everything. And remember how I showed how I went all the way back to week 1. Well, this Excel spreadsheet is available for download. There is a link to it in my weekly newsletter. So if you're a subscriber to the weekly newsletter, this link will be in there. Also, you'll have a link to download the MLS sheets for the houses of the week and condos of the week, along with the photographs that are in that MLS sheet, if there's any provided. And to get on the newsletter list, all you got to do is send me a email to this email right here, and just say you want to receive the weekly newsletter, and it comes out every Tuesday. Hey, in the beginning there, what I said was about the crash was canceled and all that. Well, I said that was referring to a headline I wanted to show you. So let's look at this article here and take a look and see about this crash. And then we looked at that data from Fred's, it showed something that was interesting. So do you think the crash is coming when you look at all this? And what happens if you wait too long, okay, for everything? All right, let's take a look and see what that headline said. All right, here we're looking at this headline here. Will home prices drop in 2024? Now, you already saw, the Fred graph showing how things were, that there didn't seem that the crash isn't happening right now, at least. Some people say it will, but that's yet to be seen. Of course, I'll show the numbers. But this headline here gives us some interesting thought, okay? Let's scroll down into it. Here's parts of it. It says, even as buyer demand has slowed, extremely low supply has kept home prices from falling. Well, here in the Jacksonville Metro, we've seen that the supply has been going up, but they still say, nationwide it's overall. Remember, this is nationwide, this article. Prices increased a bit in 2003, and they'll probably go up in 2004 as well. Okay, so what are they anticipating? All right, here. Will home prices drop in 2024, and here Fannie Mae is expecting them to go up actually in 2024, 4.8%. National Association of Realtors is predicting up 2%, and Mortgage Bankers Association predicts 4.3%. So they're saying like they can forecast anywhere from 2 to 4.8% increase. So this is incredible. So people that were waiting for this doesn't tell me there's going to be a crash. Okay, when we see this, when prices are increasing like this, again, you're sitting there waiting. What are you going to wait for? Okay, well, let's see. Now here they're talking about that the U.S. has a big housing supply problem, okay? And it said that in its 2021 research note, Freddie Mac estimated that the U.S. was 3.8 million units short of a healthy housing supply, okay? And here we have a bigger problem is that new homes aren't being constructed as fast enough at pace to meet demand, okay? Okay, then right here, is it a good time to buy a house? A lot of people ask that. So is it a good time to buy a house? And the answer to this question, they say, is the same as it was 20 years ago. If it fits your budget, it's the right time to buy, because you don't know whether interest rates are going to go up or down in the long term, and you're simply making a housing decision as opposed to an investment decision. Now this I like, okay? Because if you've followed me for any length of time, you know that I hate the term, your house is your biggest investment. No, it's not. It's a place to live. You're finding a place to live unless you're in the business, okay? My show isn't really directed towards investors. It's directed towards people that are just looking for a place to live, whether they have to buy or sell right now or they want to, okay? That's what it's about, okay? I don't give investment advice, and investors look at things different too. All right, now, a lot of people are just buying a house to live in and take care of our household and family, and that's it, okay? For most people, it's not about trying to time the market, and that is true. And then here you got, and I've said this, and they go, many hopeful buyers are planning to wait for mortgage rates to go down before jumping into the market. While this will definitely make getting a mortgage more affordable, you could end up facing even higher home prices by the time the mortgage rates come down. And then a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to wait for the recession. Well, all right, should I buy a house now or wait for a recession? You probably shouldn't wait for a recession to buy a house. There's no telling when a recession might happen, for one. And if it does, it might not significantly impact home prices. Additionally, a recession could put you in a place where you can't afford to buy a house, even if prices do come down. And then everyone thinks this, well, everyone says, you know, if the market crashes, then the prices are coming down. Everyone's looking for 2008 and 2019 again. You know, they that nostalgic, you know, time in the housing market to some people. All right, a housing market crash would make homes cheaper, but the reality for home buyers isn't as quite simple as that. A market crash would likely cause economic distress in other sectors as well, making people less able to afford to buy a home. And experts don't currently expect the housing market to crash in 2024. But there are different opinions on this, and we shall see. I do this show every week, and whatever the numbers are, I'm going to post the numbers, and we'll see. That's why it's Bubble Watch. We're looking to see if that bubble bursts. All right, now the next segment I do here is what we call Houses of the Week and Condos of the Week, and that's where I look at houses that sold above list. I pick one that sold above list, and I pick one that sold below list, and I do the same thing for the condos, okay? So right now, let's go into those houses and condos of the week. All right, here we are with the house of the week that sold below list price. Okay, we're starting off here at a house built in 2005. Good size house, 3,341 square feet. This is actually a really nice house. It is on the St. Johns River. 3 bedroom, 2.5 baths. Now, let's see this one here. Let's take a look at the history and see what the deal was with it. Okay, they started out at basically $1 million, $999,999,999. All right, and started lowering it down. Okay, after 94 days, okay, dropped it 100,000. Okay, well, you know that no bites then. So went ahead and dropped it even more. Okay, after 136 days, dropped it 200,000. All right. Well, after 256 days, they got an offer for $659,479, and they took that offer. Now, this was a cash offer, and they gave $2,000 in concessions towards repairs. Okay, so let's see. Right here, it shows what they paid for it. At the bottom here, $385,000 back in 2020, so almost exactly there. Let's see. Well, the 10th, yeah, just about exactly 4 years ago. All right, so let's put it into an appreciation calculator and see what they did. Okay, here we are. There they had it, like I say, 3.97 years, and they made 14.51%. I mean, that's pretty good. Now, I did look into it. They did put in a new air conditioning system, it looked like, and something else, all right? So, you know, they did put a little bit into it, but nowhere near that. They still did pretty good in this environment. Okay, they bought it right there in 2020, so it was right before everything really got crazy. That's what happened, like right around when the COVID hit and the sales were going down, actually. This was before things really turned up. So timing is everything. Timing worked on their side, and even though they didn't get their 9999999, they still made out. Okay, here we are with the house of the week that sold above asking price. Now, oh, I forgot to tell you, the last one there, the one that sold below, was in Putnam County. Okay, this one here is in Clay County, built in 1979, 2,046 square feet. Let's see, it's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Okay, let's take a look and see what the history was on this. Okay, this one here started out at $260,000. Okay, this one here was only on the market for 2 weeks, 14 days. At 14 days, they took an offer for $290,000. Now, this one here did have multiple offers going into it, and it probably was one of those where they did price it a little bit under market there to get a quick sale up to, you know, where they probably wanted to be. And in this case, that did work out. Now, this here was financed, and we're not going to be having an appreciation calculator on it because it looks like this house that was inherited down the road, and it could have been the original owners originally in 1979 that had it, because the tax records don't go back and show that. All they do show is something like a quick claim deed or something like that, to where it looked like somebody inherited the house and took it over. So I don't know exactly when, and maybe that's why they were selling it for what they did to get rid of the house. And so the other people definitely got a good deal. It looked like it. It's decent sized lot and all that too, and it's a brick home. So we don't have appreciation calculator on that one, especially like when it's usually that far back and we can't find the records, at least publicly. All right, next let's go to the condo of the week. Okay, here we are with the condo of the week. It's in St. Johns County, built in 1989. Total stories of this complex is 3, so it does fall within the year and the amount of stories, for that new law. All right, so it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, living area at 973 square feet. Okay, so it's relatively small. Okay, this one here, let's take a look. What is their monthly fees here? Okay, their monthly association fee, $991 a month. So basically about $1,000 a month. So $12,000 a month just in the fees. That is not counting the taxes. And those fees are not guaranteed to stay at that level, that's for sure. Okay, so let's take a look at the history on this. All right, they put this one up for sale for $428,000 back in June of 2022. All right, 2 years ago. All right, let's scroll up. After 587 days on the market, They ended up getting an offer for $345,000, which they took, okay? Now this one here was a cash deal, and even at that, based on that square footage, you take a look at that. That sold price per square foot was $354 a square foot. Okay, that's pretty high. Okay, and you know what? Let me look back at those homes of the week and look at the square footage for that. I didn't call that out. All right, hold on. The one. Okay, here's the one that sold for above list price, and that square footage was 141 a square foot. And the one that sold below square footage, where they made all that money off of it, was 197 a square foot, which, I mean, it was a big house, so that's why it was so much money. But that was a good deal for that house, because it was on the St. Johns River, and it was a big house. So 197 was good on that one. All right, now we're looking at all this data here. If you're a buyer or a seller, I go, man, you've got decisions to make and choices. You know, you got to figure out. Okay, are you going to sit there and wait? Like I showed it a few episodes ago. I showed people that at one time wanted to wait until interest rates got below 7 when the rates were above 7 before, and it took like 21 years before it actually went down below 7. So what do? If you waited, like if you were told to wait when you wanted to buy a house in 2022, they said no, it's going to crash, wait, and then now what happened? Rates went up and home prices went up. So what do? You just have to go what you got there and feel, and just like the article says, you know, buying what you can afford. I can't believe we're in season 3. This is week 4 right now, and coming up is going to be week 5 next week. So until then, I'm out of here.